My PhD journey. Hi everyone, this is Gabby from mythesiscoach.com, and if you've been on my channel, you'll see I have lots of videos about the sections of a thesis and tips for productivity and how to stay motivated and writing tips, all of those things. But I realized that I've never actually shared my PhD story, so I thought in today's video I would share that with you, and hopefully it'll inspire you to keep on pushing. And through my story, I'm definitely not extraordinary. I'm kind of smart and I work kind of hard, but I'm not a genius and I don't work myself to death. And I say this to you because if I could do this, I promise you, you can do it too. So let me tell you a little bit about my story. I actually did my master's in theatre, so applied theatre, using drama for development and education. That was my background. And then after a few years teaching in a university and being really interested in the teaching that I did, I decided that I wanted to pursue a PhD in that field. So I had the master's going in and I'd had that experience, but I didn't know anything about the higher education discipline. So that meant when I started my PhD in higher education studies, I had to kind of read myself into an entire new field, new theories, new knowledge, new ways of understanding the world, and that took me quite a long time. So my proposal took me 1.5 years to write, and at the time it seemed like a long time, and even now, that's a pretty hefty amount of time. But I'm so glad that I did spend that time. It all really paid off. Because when it came to time to write my thesis, that proposal served as a brilliant guide throughout. Literally, like until the very end of submitting my thesis, I was still going back to my proposal, having a look at it, and using it as a way to ensure that I was still on track. So one thing I'll say is if you're writing your proposal and it's taking a long time, just don't worry, you are making such an incredible investment for later on. Okay, so that was that. Then the next thing that happened in my journey, so that was about 1.5 years, I got married. So that was awesome. That happened, married. And then I collected my data. It was the next big thing that I did. And then I got pregnant. Well, actually, these things were happening at the same time. I remember doing my interviews with students, having this like really big belly and the baby was like kicking. And I was busy interviewing people and trying to stay on task. So, and that was another big thing to manage. I had terrible morning sickness, so I had that going on while I was doing all my data collection, having to stay focused throughout the baby brain. So that really taught me that thesis life lives alongside with the rest of life. I couldn't just not be pregnant so I could focus on my thesis. Like it was all happening. And I had to be kind to myself because when you're hugely pregnant and throwing up all the time, I don't know if that was too much information, you can't be too harsh on yourself if you're not making the progress you wanted to. So I had to go at my pace. I had to do what I could do and learn to be kind to myself about that. Then, so I had my data. I transcribed my last interview before I had my baby, so that was great. So I had it sitting there for after I had my baby. I had my baby, and then I went off and I got postnatal depression, which was not surprising looking back because I know I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I know I like to get things right. I like to know how to do things, and I didn't know how to have a baby. So that was a major stumbling block in my progress, my thesis progress. I doubt that I really gave much mind to the thesis progress while I was sorting that out. So that was a couple of months to get my head back. And then life continued, a bit of thesis faffing here, a little bit of thesis faffing there, baby, cuteness, all of that. And then I got to a stage, now about 4 years in, right? So now my little girl is about 2.5. I got to the stage where I decided I wanted to have another baby. Because they get to that stage that the kids are so cute that you think it's a good idea to have another one. So I got to that stage, but I realized I could not once again have a baby and be working on my thesis. So I decided I needed to finish this thing. And I gave myself 6 months to do it. I looked to see when the graduation time was. I looked at those dates. I looked when I'd need to hand in to graduate before I had my baby. And I did that and I worked out. It was 6 months' time. And now I was not far. I had my data. Maybe I'd looked at it here and there. But other than that, I hadn't done much. And I set myself this goal. Now, later when I graduated, my supervisors, who were awesome, one of my supervisors said, I didn't think you'd be able to do it, but she obviously supported me, but she thought it was a bit far-fetched. But I tell you what, for those 6 months, I went all in. I've never worked that hard before, and please, anyone who wants to hire me to work, I do say this with love, I don't think I'll ever work that hard again. I said no to so many social arrangements. I said no to taking my kitty to birthday parties. I said I didn't watch any TV, I didn't watch any series, I didn't read any fiction, and I love reading. I worked on my thesis, I worked at my job, I did what I needed to do to parent, and other than that, I was sitting at my desk working hours every day, every night, and it was unbelievable. It was such a flow that I was in, and doing that helped build my confidence and helped me to take risks in my writing and helped me get stronger and more confident, and that fed into more productivity and better writing. And you know what? I did it. In those 6 months, I managed to finish my thesis and I managed to submit it, and I'm really proud of it still. I mean, this was nearly 5 years ago. No, 5 years ago, I think, that I finished my thesis. Graduated. Dates, who knows. But I really love it. It really feels like the embodiment of me. Every now and then I look at this book, where is it? It's normally sitting around here somewhere, and I think, oh my God, did I write this? And that's what's so cool about doing a thesis. It's a feeling at the end. So I want to end this video with the same thing that I started with. If I could do this without being exceptionally genius and with marriages and babies and depression and all these things happening and work. I've hardly mentioned work, but I did that as well at the same time. But if I could do this, you absolutely can do it. Remember, your journey won't be the same as anyone else. But if you want it hard enough, like I wanted it hard enough, that's what compels you to keep going. So thanks for listening to my story. I would love to connect with you further in the comments. Drop me something there. I'm always around. And please do subscribe to my channel where I share many more thesis tips and tricks. Have a beautiful day further, and I look forward to connecting with you again. Bye now.